So welcome, everyone. Thanks for coming. We are here to talk about redefining the in-store experience using AI. I want to introduce you to the people today. So on the call with us, we have Will Abouchon. He's the CEO of Abouchon Hardware. And next to me is Georgios Pipilidis, CEO and co-founder of Ariadne. And I'm Kim McLean. I'm an innovation strategist for hybrid technologies at Deloitte. And so we've got 30 minutes to chat with you, and we're going to share a little bit about what this AI solution is, and then talk to Will a little bit about how it has been implemented in his stores and the kind of impact he's seen from it. And then we're also going to open it up to any questions you have at the end. So I just really want to start by asking Georgios, can you talk to us about why we're here today?
Hi, thanks for the question. We are here today because of this slide. I don't know if you understand what you see. Let me explain. What does this slide present is that you may have 50 customers queuing in your cash register to pay, for example, or queuing to be served by your employees. You may have 100 customers that they can tolerate queues up to 10 minutes, but this doesn't happen. You don't have 200 customers that will tolerate queues of 20 minutes. When you want to double your sales from 100 to 200, let's say in this specific customer, you need to minimize your queue times. You need to go from 5 minutes, which was when you are a small store, not so busy, to 2.5 minutes. This is what this slide says. And this is what inspires us to provide this technology to retailers. And this is why we invited you all here. How we do that? Everybody carries a phone. Our phones are emitting signals. Even in airplane mode, our phones are emitting signals. We can sense those signals, and we can estimate the distance from the source. And as a result, by estimating the distance from multiple angles, we can multilaterate the location of the phone. This is an absolutely passive solution, and it is as passive as a camera, so everybody with a phone can be perceived, can be sensed. And we can do this with our hardware, so we provide our own hardware, or we can even support your existing hardware. Most of the latest hardware access points we can share, we can support.
Can you, sorry, Georgios, can you kind of explain a little bit about why you use the phone signal instead of cameras?
Thanks. Thanks for the question. So a camera, you can see also around many solutions with cameras, it can cover at best 20 square meters. And this is if there is line of sight, if there is no walls, if there is nothing that blocks the view. The way our technology works, it can cover, every sensor can cover 700 square meters. It's 35 times more area than a camera. So it can scale much more. This area, this is from an IKEA store, 40,000 square meters that we only cover with 80 sensors. It would need thousands of cameras if you want to provide this flow that you see on the screen.
So there's a lot of conversation going on lately around the privacy of AI, the privacy of data, the privacy of our devices. How is it that you're able to track movement of people and their devices and keep that data safe?
Yes. This is also a very valid question. people think that cameras or other solution is more compliant to privacy when it's the opposite. Our solution you can mathematically prove that it is an anonymous solution. I think that this is the only solution practically that can be mathematically proven to be anonymous. A camera, it is not proactively anonymous. A camera, in order to make sure that it's anonymous, you need to be audited. You need to have technical people there which will review your solution and will make sure that no video is leaving the area, or you appropriately warn your visitors. But our solution is absolutely anonymous. To give you an understanding of how anonymous it is, we have in Germany 30 cities where we have deployed our solution. With our 30 cities where we cannot warn people, so it has to be GDPR compliant.
So I know we wanted to also talk to Will about how he has been using this technology. So I wanted to ask, listening to Georgios kind of explain the process and how this works, all the technology behind it, how did you measure conversion in your stores before you implemented Ariadne?
We never measured conversion rate at the Auchan company. We would measure things, obviously, like sales performance, category performance. We would survey customers and our neighbors. But really, the closest thing we got to trying to figure out lost sales opportunities would be out of stocks. And that would be the closest thing. So we are very excited about being able to measure conversion rate really for that lost sale opportunity. But this is the first time we've ever done it.
I was just wondering how you have quantified the conversion, the sales conversions that you've been able to see from Ariadne's data currently. So using the system, what have you learned from it already?
Yeah, what we've learned from it is how much incredible opportunity we're letting slip through our fingers, unfortunately. Which is both frustrating as well as exciting, because we all know how difficult it is to find new customers and to grow revenue in a mature market. And when you really just focus on the traffic that's already coming in through the door, it's pretty eye-opening. So for us, the lost sales opportunity in all of our stores that we've been running Ariadne in is more than, well more than 10%. And so this is both, like I said, frustrating initially, but also quite exciting when you really think about the opportunity that's right in front of you.
It's nice to hear that viewed as exciting and not terrifying. Has Ariadne's solution helped you with any other KPIs? I mean, I know you talked about the loss and identifying customers as they're coming in the door and seeing where they're going. But I mean, I've looked at the dashboards and I always get really excited trying to connect the dots between queue times and dwell times and just looking at the flow, the traffic flow. As people go through a store. So just wondering, as you've seen those dashboards, have you found any other KPIs that have kind of jumped out at you or said, oh my gosh, we could do this, that, or something else?
Yeah, the KPIs that we're really kind of interested in, number one is conversion rate, but you mentioned dwell time. That's also something that we're finding to be quite useful. There's good dwell time and bad dwell time. The dwell time for queuing at the register is bad, obviously. But the one that's quite unique to us, I think, in which we're really using two technologies. We're using Ariadne, and then we're also using the sensors that are in our Theatro communicators that we use for communication within our stores. We can come up with a metric around assistance rate, which is essentially the presence of a Theatro communicator sensor next to one of our neighbors or customers with their cell phone sensor. in an aisle. And for us, being in the hardware industry, assistance is really the only real competitive advantage that we have, the most significant differentiator we have. And yet we've never really been able to measure it at scale. And so really assistance rate is something that is perhaps the most exciting KPI that we are able to leverage with Ariadne.
I wanted to kind of ask the audience a question. I heard Will say some numbers like 10% and things like we didn't quantify this before. Just wondering to all of you, do you know in your own spaces how much of an increase you would see in sales if you increased dwell time by 10 minutes? Or if you increased your assistance rates by 10%? Does anybody have that? Is that like something that you guys measure right now? I'm seeing a lot of head shaking, a lot of ducking down, not making eye contact. So this is kind of what blew me away when I first started using Ariadne years ago, actually at San Diego Airport. Their retail space and all the concessions in there, we were using this product and I was looking at these dashboards, and what I was getting from it was kind of what I was hinting at earlier, this question of KPIs, because what I started to see was a way to connect the dots between if we increase our dwell time in this space over here, and I follow this path of flow traffic. We saw a minute ago, one of the slides had this movement to it. That was actual flow traffic moving through a space. So we could look at trends and patterns in a space and identify tendencies of people, of where they would go next, where they would go third. And say, okay, I'm going to put marketing in this location because I know this type of person is going to go here, here, and here. And I want them to think about something that's not in their path. I want them to go to a new place that's outside of their norm and break up that traffic pattern. And by doing that and by easing the flow for them, we're able to get them to visit more spaces. We're able to show them new products. And then by looking, I know this is a big one, we've seen it around the floor, staffing. How do we staff correctly? So this assist question of where do we put people? When do we put them in the departments? This technology can really show the ebb and flow of people in a space, in a department. And so we could staff better, increase those assist rates. We could identify when queues were getting too long, fix that, and all of that together led us to this issue of loyalty. How do we improve in-store experience? How do we create that loyalty by making them want to come back, by making an experience new and unexpected for them? And the data that we were able to pull let us do that in ways that I literally did not know was possible before we saw this. So Georgios knows I'll wax poetic if I can. So I just wanted to share kind of this data with you, but I know kind of moving on, this data and all the different ways we can use it really changes the strategic decisions that people like Will are making. And I'll leave this up for just a second. But I know kind of we wanted to ask some more questions about the impact of this data. So Will, coming back to you, what was your immediate reaction after you started getting the dashboards on your stores? Actually, before I ask that question, how many stores do you have Ariadne in right now?
We have Ariadne in 8 of our 126 stores at the moment.
And if if you're seeing, 10% increases over, if you add that up and then multiply that by your stores, that's going to really increase that bottom line. Sorry, I was asking you about the impact when you saw this data.
Yeah, it's enormous potential. We again, it's the lost opportunity that we all have as retailers. And the real challenge is, I think there's many ways to capture that lost potential. So there's no one easy answer there, but with Ariadne, at least you can begin to measure what that lost potential is and start orientating our team members around capturing it. Whether that is through better merchandising to increase dwell time, or whether it's, in our case, a lot, it has to do with assistance and assistance rates. So, it's very hard to manage things that you can't measure. And these things are so important to us as a company, the way that we assist our neighbors. And for the first time at scale, even though it's only in 8 stores, we're able to really measure that critical component of the customer experience.
Can I ask, what has been kind of the reaction from your store managers as you share this data with them? Because I can imagine that while there might be similarities from store to store, maybe each store is a little bit different based on trends of customers in that region. So how have your management kind of taken to absorbing this data and making changes from it?
Well, the first reaction, frankly, is it's accurate. What I mean by that is the heat maps. So right off the bat, there's a sense of accuracy when we show what's happening, because they sort of have an intuitive sense as to what are the hottest areas of their store, and really Ariadne really matches up with that intuitive sense. And then the next reaction is, well, if this thing is this accurate, there's just frankly some excitement, because all of our teams and our store leaders are, they do have as part of their goals is to drive sales. There's really an excitement around the potential. But I think what's really important about Ariadne is not just measuring a store-wide conversion rate or a store-wide sales potential, because as a store leader, the next question is, well, what am I going to do? And with Ariadne, the sensors are, and the data is throughout the store. So as an example, where in my store do I have the lowest conversion rate? Because if I work on that, that's going to be my biggest, leverage point. So it could be because of merchandising, or it could be because of training. Like, hey, you know what? We don't actually have enough people in this particular store trained on paint. And I kind of knew that as a store leader, but now I can see it, and I can see the data, and I can see the lost sales potential. So it can be very motivating for training as well. So it's been very positive.
You mentioned accuracy of data. Do you know offhand a percentage of about how accurate the sensors have been?
Can you say that one more time?
Do you have a percentage of how accurate the data has been? I know I'm going to ask Georgios this one in a second, but you mentioned it's very accurate. I know one of the things that we've heard from cameras or LiDAR is that their accuracy, especially Wi-Fi, just those kind of outreaches, the accuracy is really poor. So just wondering from you, what does accurate mean in terms of data percentage?
Yeah, we've seen with the sensors themselves, it's about 90% accurate. And one factor there is not everyone, believe it or not, is actually maybe carrying their phone into the store, or there could be other reasons for that. So really, when you're 100% dependent on the sensors, it's about 90% accurate, which is pretty darn good. What we have is a unique element here, because we have this other technology in our store with Theatro. And what that allows us to do is, at a store level, we're able to get much higher accuracy levels, because the biggest reason why store-wide footfall counts are going to be wrong is because of the movement of team members in and out of the store. And we're able to basically use the sensor minus I'm sorry, we're able to use optical sensors at the entrances minus the sensors that are on our Theatro devices through Ariadne to get a very, very accurate, like 98% accurate store-wide conversion. So that's the level of accuracy that we're seeing, about 98% store-wide and about 90% within the store.
So, Georgios, I know this is something that Ariadne has been working on, is identifying customers versus store employees. Can you kind of explain how that works and what that's like?
Thanks. I also want to comment on what Will said. So, but you're right. This is, for me, this is a technological achievement because again, so our biggest competitor is cameras. This is why I speak all the time about cameras. We are not cameras. We are tracking signals emitted by phones. And in this case, an optical sensor at the entrance is not accurate enough because employees go in and out all the time. You have 40% employees that they are skewing all the data and conversion. So what we did with Will is we are separately tracking the employees and we subtract the moments that they're crossing the door in and out. So as a result, everybody who enters the store is a customer, is a visitor, not an employee. The second is I want to comment also that on Will's surprise, the first time he noticed that not everybody who visits the store is buying. So please stop counting your visitors by the number of invoices, the number of receipts. Many people will not buy and you will never know why. You are losing 50% of your potential by not knowing, right? And the second is many people go with the intention to buy. You have the product to offer, but your employees don't assist them. So why? Why do you let this go? Why you let this conversion go? We have plenty of stores. We increase conversion. Just so also Will wants to conduct now interviews, exit interviews that you were. Maybe you can tell us a bit about exit interviews that you're planning. But this is so first you are losing maybe 1 in 2 customers, 1 in 2 visitors. And you are after that, you are losing 1 in 3. 1 in 3, yeah. Yeah.
And at scale, losing 1 in 3 customers, I mean, that's 33% potential sales that are being lost. Obviously, we can't make everyone buy every time they come into a store, but I think Will was saying earlier that just being able to understand where those sales losses are happening so that you can have a much clearer, a much crisper look at your layout, at your product placement, at your staffing, and start to identify maybe a movement of a product or a change in staffing or a dwell time increase. These are the things you can now quantify with this kind of technology. And Will mentioned something that I wanted to ask you about, Georgios. Will, you were talking about this other system that you have and connecting it with the data from Ariadne. So I know there's been conversations before about integrations and how Ariadne can integrate with other systems. What are some of the most common systems that you think this technology should or could integrate with to kind of give a really well-rounded view of a store?
Me?
To get to you.
It's from me, okay. So we are regularly integrating our data with POS, so we can tag on the trajectory what purchases happen. So you know where the person went, where the visitor, which products the visitor has visited, which did they end up buying, why didn't they buy the products that they visited and they didn't end up purchasing. Then another common, which is what we did with Will, we have integrated as an input from his schedule. So we know if the schedule is optimum. And an optimum schedule, what does it mean? It means when I have peaks on visitation, I have peaks on my employees. So most of the employees are working when most of my visitors are. We can do a very precise forecasting of the visitation. So the employee scheduling system can use this data to better schedule your employees so that you have more employees when you need more employees. The third most promising integration, and what was Will mentioning, we have integrated with the devices that they use for internal communication. Will is using Theatro, which is also very successful integration. We have also done with other retailers integration with Honeywell devices, Zebra devices, and with more or less with this we cover 90% of what is out there. And another integration is with the CRM. So now everybody wants to go online. Everybody has digital stores. They want to push visitors. Also, Will owns the domain hardware.com, right? Hardwarestore.com. Will, right? So everybody wants to push his visitors to buy also from the online store. This is something we can also serve. So the visitors can opt in to your loyalty program. We can merge their visitor ID, their Ariadne ID, to the cookie from the browser. Of course, this falls into privacy regulations, so we need the consent. The consent, we need it only once, and then we can communicate regularly to them. So this is also a successful integration. This is an integration we have done with HubSpot. So you can install an application in your HubSpot, and you can communicate with your visitors. And Salesforce should be next. They were presenting here earlier. I think that this is the next integration we should do.
So that was a big list. Honeywell, Salesforce, your CRM. I caught a bunch of those in there. Thinking of kind of what's coming next, Will, do you have any plans on what you want to use this data for in the future?
Yeah, I want to integrate better with our scheduling system. And Georgios might have mentioned that, but I definitely want to use the traffic to better schedule. And the other thing I want to do is further integrate with Theatro with live updates. So if there's a presence of a neighbor in one of our aisles without one of our team members, basically there should be an alert to those in the store that someone is in aisle 4 without, no one has assisted the person. So those are some examples of further leveraging and further integrating.
Thanks, Will. Last question, Georgios, to you. Thinking about what's coming next, how do you see the future of Ariadne growing?
So, very good question. And to extend on what Will also said, we are working with smartwatches. So, Ariadne data live feed comes to the smartwatch and describes to the employee where is the biggest opportunity for them to be this moment. Imagine getting your bonuses based on your sales that you achieve physically. So you want to be where the biggest opportunity is, like in the digital world again. This is what we're working now. We are testing already in a few stores. And the big vision behind Ariadne, and this is the main reason we use signals and not cameras, is because we can establish a bi-directional link of communication. So this moment in Palo Alto, we have robots that they go and they scan for stock availability, so what is available in the shelf. And they obtain location by Ariadne because they can. So they don't have to install any extra infrastructure. Robots, people can be navigated, so people can obtain their own location to be navigated with a blue dot navigation with Ariadne. Actually, we do this very often in expos. We have done it also here in NRF last year, and we are also going to do it next year. And so you can do also the blue dot. And this is the bidirectionality of it is what I enjoy.
I think robots are going to take over everything, so you'll be in good shape for that one. All right, thank you all so much. You were really attentive. It was great to see you all. Thanks for coming.
Visit our booth. We are in 1217. If you want to hear more, I have here the map, how you should turn left and then right. You will find it. Thank you so much all.
And thank you, Will, for joining us.
Thank you, Will.
Thank you.